Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis ici avec le Premier ministre et d'autres ministres pour élever les relations entre le Canada et l'Inde. Donc nous allons avoir des conversations sur la sécurité publique, bien sûr, comme toujours, et aussi sur l'économie, de sujets de l'intelligence artificielle, l'agriculture, l'économie en général, surtout les minéraux critiques et l'énergie. Donc il y a beaucoup de travail à faire ici et on va le faire comme équipe canadienne. Hi everybody, I am here with the Prime Minister and other ministers, of course, to elevate the Canada-India relations. The work that we will do will focus on domestic public safety and security, as well as the economic relationship writ large, on a number of metrics. Energy and critical minerals, artificial intelligence, agriculture, the business-to-business and people-to-people ties. We have a lot of work to do, and as Team Canada, we will make sure it gets done effectively.
Minister, on the question of public safety, as you know, an official said, I think we could say we're confident that activity, being extortion and threats of violence, is not continuing. I know you gave numerous interviews in Canada where you talked about guardrails, you talked about other things in the transcript, but I do not understand, yes or no, do you share that position? Has the violence ended, yes or no?
We are continuing at all times to take public safety and security in Canada, including transnational repression and foreign interference, seriously. That includes a key message that I would like to deliver today, which is that no country has a pass when it comes to Canadian public safety and security. That is the reason why we've listed the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity. That is the reason why we ordered senior Indian diplomats and government officials to leave our country. That is the reason why we have passed or are introducing laws relating to extortion and online harm and surveillance. That is the reason why in my joint statement with my counterpart, Minister Jaishankar, I have specifically indicated that the rule of law, the respect for the criminal code in our country, as well as an independent enforcement mechanism will continue to occur regardless.
Is this activity ongoing, yes or no?
As I said, foreign interference, transnational repression is taken extremely seriously by our government, and it will continue to be taken seriously because no country has a pass when it comes to domestic public safety and security.
Is it happening from India?
C'est toujours un cas de continuer de surveiller, de renforcer nos lois et d'être là pour la population canadienne avec les règles du droit et le respect pour le code criminel du Canada. Et ça c'est notre priorité d'adresser toutes les menaces sur nos lois. Et on va continuer de faire le travail nécessaire, de s'assurer qu'on est là avec nos lois et le droit de notre population pour appuyer la population avec les lois nécessaires.
We've asked you repeatedly. We had a senior official speaking for your government speak to us and say that India is no longer interfering in our domestic electoral process, and you won't tell us whether or not that's on the record, whether or not that's happened. Has it stopped or not?
There's a question on the floor which I will answer. I want to be clear. If you read the entire transcript, you will see that that senior government official gave a number of responses, which we and I specifically agree with, relating to the guardrails that we have in place. The guardrails are the key aspect of Canadian foreign policy that I am focusing on. First and foremost, enacting laws that address transnational repression and foreign interference, moving to appoint a commissioner that will be overseeing foreign interference, ensuring that the Bishnoi gang is listed as a terrorist entity, ordering senior Indian officials to leave our country, ensuring that an independent investigation and judicial process continue without any interference. Those are key pillars of our foreign policy. Those are what were mentioned by the senior government official, and that is what I am focusing on in my response to you, period.
Do you not agree with the other portion of the comment that you said that is what you did agree with?
I agree that we need to continue to address all issues of public safety and security, and those include foreign interference and transnational repression. That's why when I was here laying the foundation for this visit with the Prime Minister now, back in October, we had a joint statement with Minister Jaishankar in which we have a dialogue going on continuously between senior officials in India and Canadian senior officials on the public safety dialogue. In order to make progress, you need to be at the table. And we have seen progress being made in the engagement that we have had with the government of India at the senior official level. And therefore, that is the work that we will continue to do in the short and the long term for the benefit of the Canadian population. I understand and appreciate deeply in my conversations with the Sikh caucus that the sentiments that the Sikh community in Canada are feeling are very serious, and I too have concerns and will continue to raise those concerns at the table in my conversations with Indian diplomats and my counterpart, Minister Jaishankar.
Donc vous partagez les préoccupations de la communauté sikh par rapport à l'ingérence.
Comme membre du gouvernement du Canada, on doit considérer et pousser les intérêts canadiens. Il y avait une mort sur le terrain dans notre pays. Donc bien sûr, c'est sérieux et c'est important de continuer d'écouter les concerns là de cette communauté. Ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle j'ai parlé avec le caucus sikh avant de quitter le pays. Et ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle je vais continuer d'élever le sujet de notre sécurité publique dans ma conversation. Et ça, c'est la raison pour laquelle nos fonctionnaires ont un dialogue avec le gouvernement indien.
If you agree,
you mentioned a lot of different things on your agenda that you're going to be discussing during this trip. Is there something that you guys are treating as priority one, and how will that benefit Canadians?
Priority one is to ensure that the dialogue on public safety and security continues, to focus on concerns relating to the rule of law, to ensure that respect for the Criminal Code of Canada exists at all times, to address concerns of foreign interference and transnational repression. In addition, in this stressed global economic environment, we are engaging with countries around the world to elevate Canada's economic interests and to leverage our competitive advantages, including in areas such as agriculture, critical minerals, energy, artificial intelligence. So there are two tracks here. One is the priority position of the public safety dialogue, and two is the work we're doing on the economy. We are working to diversify and double non-US trade over the next 10 years. We have signed 12 trade agreements over the last 6 months over 4 continents. This is the work that we are continuing to do in this country and around the world.
Travel advisories on Iran. You put out a tweet. Can you tell Canadians what your advice is in the region and what is the likelihood of a U.S. strike on Iran? Is that what your view is?
So Canada very much is focusing on a negotiated solution at the table. That is our priority. We have a focus on the Canadians in the region and their safety and security. And I believe that is what is at the heart of your question in terms of Canadian foreign policy. Of course, as I just said in the previous context, we are focused on the interests of Canadians, and that means ensuring that we have up-to-date travel advice for all Canadians. And if I could just turn to the specifics of that travel advice, I will do so now. Canadians in Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon should consider leaving while commercial options remain available, given that the security situation across the Middle East remains volatile and unpredictable. And I would ask that Canadians continue to monitor and follow the instructions of local and international authorities. Canadians in Iran should leave now if they can do so safely. There is no Canadian embassy in Iran. Given that we have declared the IRGC a terrorist entity, we therefore are recommending Canadians to leave now if they can do so safely. We will continue to provide up-to-date advice, and Canadian consular support in the region has been enhanced.
If you take
Premièrement, je voudrais offrir la réponse en français, donc je vais répondre à cette question-là. La situation en matière de sécurité dans certaines régions de Moyen-Orient demeure instable. Les Canadiens qui se trouvent dans la région devraient rester vigilants, surveiller les médias locaux et internationaux et suivre les directives des autorités locales, y compris tout ordre de rester à l'abri sur place. Les Canadiens en Israël, en Palestine et au Liban devraient envisager de quitter le pays tant que des options commerciales demeurent disponibles. En Iran, c'est un petit peu différent. Nous n'avons pas l'appui consulaire là, donc notre conseil est de quitter le pays aussitôt que possible là. Et on va continuer d'offrir le conseil sur la situation et on va rester là pour la population canadienne. Si vous voulez avoir les nombres, je pourrais offrir les nombres de citoyens dans la région en total.
Minister, if you agree,
Can I just ask, please don't yell at me. I'm not yelling at you. I will take your questions one by one.
Minister, if you say you agree with the concerns from the Sikh community, why can't you answer yes or no as to whether the violence they say that they are experiencing that's linked to India is actually occurring?
Well, what I'm saying is, as the foreign minister, is what our position is as a matter of foreign policy and domestic public
With all respect,
safety.
Minister, your position is not clear as to whether the government of Canada actually believes that this violence is still occurring that's linked to India.
We have the Hogue report. We are following recommendations in the Hogue report, including appointing and moving to appoint a commissioner relating to foreign interference. We will continue to take concerns of public safety and security across the board with regards to all countries extremely seriously. And as I said at the beginning, the message I have here is that no country has a pass on Canada's safety and security. We are a country of the rule of law. That means there are independent processes in place to address concerns of public safety and security, including the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. That is a priority for our country, and at the foreign affairs level, I raise these concerns in every meeting. And in addition, with regards to India, we have a public safety security dialogue ongoing in the short and the long term, and that will continue at the highest levels of the public service. Ryan.
Est-ce que vous croyez que le gouvernement indien est derrière les cas d'extorsion qui se passent dans la région de Surrey?
Comme j'ai dit, nous avons plusieurs lois sur nos dossiers pour s'assurer que les événements comme l'extorsion est une priorité pour notre gouvernement. Ça veut dire la responsabilité de notre gouvernement et aussi c'est très important d'être là pour la population, pas seulement dans ce cas-là, mais dans tous les cas, d'avoir une loi compréhensive. Et ça, c'est l'importance de nos projets de loi. Et nous espérons que les conservateurs et tout le monde dans la Chambre va voter en faveur de nos législations. Ryan.
Can you talk to us a bit about defense cooperation with India in the context of these concerns that you're outlining? What would that look like? What can we expect? What are you guys trying to do? And how can you do that safely, given the concerns?
So I'll take you back to the joint statement that I issued with Minister Jaishankar back in October at my visit, which was largely the foundation for the visit that the Prime Minister is taking now. And in particular, there were a series of issues that we focused on in that joint statement. We began for the whole first page talking about the importance of the rule of law and public safety. Turn the page and you see a number of other areas where we will continue to focus on. One is agriculture, artificial intelligence, energy, critical minerals, people-to-people ties, and business-to-business ties. So that's the framework that we're working on. But overall, if you take a step back, there's a cooperative framework in place, and certainly Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, issued in late 2022, sees greater cooperation in defense and security. The work that we are doing is always to address and ensure that we are focusing on the public safety elements while seeing where we can cooperate on other areas, including in defense and security. So, in short, this is an ongoing conversation where we will cooperate and where we will ensure that we are looking at other areas, and defense and security is one area. Having been the Minister of National Defense, I know this file well. Abigail, Steve?
Can I just ask you about this new era of foreign policy that we're in now? We just announced $2 billion more for Ukraine last week, and Ukraine is probably one of our biggest foreign policy priorities, given we spent $25 billion helping them defend themselves against the Russians. Mr. Modi hosted Mr. Putin in December, celebrated his unbreakable friendship with them, and they have a healthy weapons and energy trade. So how far can we go with India, given their friendships?
So it's a good question, and I think it's a fair question, and I'll begin by responding that it's important to look at the issues that we're raising at the table, and you can divide those issues into the bilateral relationship, the issues of direct concern to the safety and security of the Canadian population, and then other areas of the economy that we can focus on, and I've listed those repeatedly in this presser. And so that's one basket of negotiations. The second area that we focus on is the multilateral area, and issues that we are focused on in foreign policy on a multilateral basis. And one of those issues is Ukraine, where Canada, as a member of the extremely influential and important Coalition of the Willing, has done excellent work in raising support, including financial support to Ukraine, Canada at $25.5 billion, as you say. And so these are the issues that we will be raising. Canada continues to support and advocate for Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity. That position does not change simply because we are in another country. But the point I want to make on all of these questions is that in order to make progress bilaterally on public safety or multilaterally on support for Ukraine, we have to be at the table. We actually have to be able to advocate. Diplomacy is not about hiding under a rock and saying, I am not going to deal with you because of the actions of your government. Diplomacy, in my view, is very much about sitting at the table, having conversations that are difficult, but conversations that represent Canadian interests, Canadian foreign policy, and Canadian work with multilateral partners. So this applies to every single question here. One, on public safety and security, how are we going to actually address effectively issues of transnational repression and foreign interference? It's to be at the table and to have that conversation, to say to countries around the world that these are serious issues for the government of Canada, and we would like to know how you are going to address them. To say we believe strongly in Ukraine's territorial integrity and the rule of law and sovereignty and international law, will you come aboard with us? And several members of the coalition of the willing to support Ukraine in the short and the long term. So again, the upshot of many of the questions here is that we should not be here because of public safety concerns. I would flip that. I would say to you, in order to be an effective minister, an advocate, and government, you have to be at the table. You have to be able to advocate for the citizens that are relying on you, the citizens who elected you, and that is what I do as a minister, and that is what we will do here in Mumbai and Delhi during our diplomatic engagements. Abigail?
On the Middle East, the United States has told diplomats in Israel if they'd like to leave, they need to get out now. Is Canada sending any message to diplomats in the Middle East?
Thank you for asking this question. We have asked non-essential staff to relocate from Tel Aviv because of the heightened security situation. We have not put in place that advice for non-essential staff in Lebanon or Palestine. We are monitoring the situation closely, of course, and that advice may change. But at this point, the advice relating to staff relocation for non-essential staff pertains to Tel Aviv alone. Across the board, relating to our travel advice, we are following closely what our allies are doing, and in particular, our advice tracks France, the US, and Australia vis-a-vis asking Canadian citizens to leave if there are commercial means available.
But have you told the US that they're going, on Iran, has Canada said to the US that this is a very dangerous road that they're going down?
I last spoke with Secretary Rubio about Iran just on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference. And I also had a conversation with my G7 foreign minister counterparts about Iran, in which I stressed that Canada always seeks a negotiated solution at the table, and that our concern for international law and international human rights will always be at the forefront of our foreign policy. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. J'ai parlé avec mes homologues du G7 à Munich quand j'étais là pour le forum, et j'ai dit clairement que les intérêts canadiens sont sur les droits humains toujours, et nous voulons avoir une solution négociée à table toujours. Nous sommes un pays qui appuie le paix et le droit international. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.